Hi, I'm Sandi Genovese and welcome to the Scrapbook Showgram. You know, birthdays only come once a year, so I like to make a pretty big deal out of it by making something really special. And that's what you see here. A good friend of mine, Andrea Grossman, you may know her from Mrs. Grossman Stickers. I worked for her for a couple years. We became great friends. We're still great friends. Her birthday is this month. This is the card that I'm making for her. So I'm calling it a card kind of slash display. Notice that on the front I have what I'm pretending I really didn't have the sheet music for Happy Birthday, but in a perfect world that's what this would be the Happy Birthday sheet music, a little chunk of it. The very first sticker that she ever created, they were heart stickers, and so hearts are always featured prominently in the things that I make for Andrea. And if you look inside, you can see that inside, even though she's not a champagne drinker, it's still such a celebratory thing that I feature a bottle of champagne this year, because this is her card for this year. And then, of course, those signature hearts, as well as what I hope looks like the sheet music from Happy Birthday. Now, each of the pages in this book are the same, and we're going to see why in a minute, but I'm going to go through. There are 5 sections. They're all identical. All I did differently was on the date that's down in the corner, I switched the color of the candle so that every one is a different candle. But when I flip all the way to the back, that's where I then personalized it by including photos of myself and Andrea when she was a guest a number of times on my television show. And I worked for her for a few years. This was my office, and here I am with Andrea and her dog Bo. So what's fun about this, when you take the front cover and you pull it all the way around and attach it to the back cover, it creates this fabulous display. There's 2 ways to hold this closed. I always include a little, this is a heart-shaped paper clip, and I'm going to use this so that I can clip all those layers together, and that actually holds it together nicely. But I can also go back and I can retie these ribbons into a bow, and that holds it as well. So you have like sort of double duty. This is called a star book, and the reason why is when you look from the top, you can see that it really creates a 5-pointed star. So that's this style of construction is called a star book. Now, to begin with, remember there's 5. We're going to make 1 and then repeat it 4 times. So right away, once you get going and you start repeating and making extras, it goes faster and faster. You want to start, first of all, with the background paper. And what I did was I cut the sheet music so that it was 9 inches long and 6 inches tall. I started to put it together, and I discovered that the thinness of the sheet music didn't work. It really kind of buckled and didn't hold its shape. So I did have to put adhesive on the back and attach it to some matching cardstock, which I've already gone ahead and I've stuck these together. So here's one that's already, where it's already thickened by being stuck to some cardstock. And then you're going to just simply close it over and fold it in half. So this gives you the back piece of each one of these layers in this book. The middle section, the dimensions of this is just a strip of gold cardstock, and this is 1 3/4 inches wide, and it's 7 inches long. Now it too needs to be simply folded in half, and we're going to add some decoration into that middle layer. But before I add the decoration in there, let's talk about the dimensions and how to create the front layer. I'll move these out of the way and bring up, this is cardstock that is a 6-inch square, so it's 6 by 6. And once again, you're going to fold it in the middle in half so that you have that crease that will give you another layer, that what will be the front dimension. It's important that whatever size you start with, that the layers are graduated in length. Notice that this one is 6 inches long. If I lay this down, you'll see the gold one is 7 inches long. And remember, the sheet music was 9 inches long. The graduation in length is what's going to make this create this wonderful sort of diorama effect that you get when you align the edges and you pull them tight from both sides. So in order to create, notice that on the finished one, this front is just simply a window. And in order to do that, I've taken a piece of orange paper you know, just any color paper that's different from your actual cardstock. That's going to be the front. And I've laid it down. Mine is 4.5 inches long by 2.25 inches wide, and I picked that dimension because I want a 3/4 inch border for the window of this front piece. I'm going to go ahead with a pencil and trace around. You could just go right to the paper trimmer and cut this, which is the fastest, but since I don't know if everybody has a paper trimmer, I thought I would go ahead and show. If you leave it folded, it really is pretty quick and easy, even with just scissors, to cut along that folded edge. I'll skip down here and I'll cut this edge. And now all I have to do is break in here in order to cut along the 4.5 inch length that I drew with a pencil. And cut a little more here. That's going to snap out, and it gives me the window. This was the pencil mark that I made. In order for this to work, I don't even have to worry about erasing the pencil because this is actually going to be positioned this way, so that when I layer all of these together, I'm going to end up with, if I just use my fingers to hold these together, you can see how you're going to start to create that diorama effect. But in order for it to be really effective, we need to put things on the middle and the front layer. So let's start with the middle. The middle layer is simply adding a few elements, and I'm going to start with hearts. I'm going to position a large heart here, but first I added some decoration. Instead of just plain red, I decided to give it a little more personality by taking a watermark ink pad, and I'll take, I don't actually even remember for sure which of the stamps I used, but I'll go ahead. These are stamps from my HSN collection, and I'm going to go ahead, place this onto the clear block, and it holds it there with, I think it's kind of like static electricity. And I'm going to go ahead and create this nice leaf pattern. I'll position this right onto the red. It dries fairly quickly. It also dries darker. So I'm going to hold this up at an angle because it'll be a little bit easier for you to see. But you can see how I've started to create a pattern. I would just go back and keep restamping until I have a solid, nice pattern. I'll bring this over so you can see. I don't think I even used the same stamp, but you get the idea. You're basically just creating your own background paper, but you're doing it with a watermark ink pad. After you have all of the decoration on the hearts, then you're going to first of all attach this tall one. It's a long one, and I folded it in the middle because the whole thing is going to have to close up as a book would close or as a greeting card would close. I'm going to place adhesive just on the tip. I only want to go like 1.75 inches because it needs to be attached just to this gold paper that's already got the fold line. I'm going to fold this over and make sure I have my folds all aligned, and if there's any adhesive, I'll turn it over so I can make sure. If there's any adhesive, there isn't, but if there were, I could pull it off right now. So this is going to give me this middle piece. I have a couple of additional hearts on the center section. Let me bring those up, and I'll add one heart to this section, and I'll place adhesive on the back and add a heart to this section. Now you just need to remember that when you do this, you don't want any adhesive on the back side that's exposed because you don't want it to stick when you open it. It only needs to stick to this gold piece that's going to be this middle layer. This is all I did to create the middle section. The back section is simply just the sheet music. So now it's time to look at the front section. Now the front section, if you look at here, you can see what I've done is I used die cut Sizzix alphabet to spell out hugs and kisses at the top, and at the bottom I've just done the numbers to spell out the year and substituted a candle. And then over here, let me show you what I did with this. This was simply, I went to the liquor store right around the corner from my studio, and Harry and Mimi, I know them because I buy candy bars there a lot, and they let me take a picture of just a photograph of the bottle of champagne, which I then printed out, and I used that as a guide. Put a piece of tracing paper over and used it as a template so that I could create the paper piecing in order to put this together. I could have just used the photo, but I didn't want to print it 5 times. It was less expensive, a little more frugal to just do it out of paper. Plus, I like the texture of it. So this is going to be attached down in the bottom corner. I only need a little bit of adhesive. Remember, this time I only have 3/4 of an inch to work with. So I'm going to go ahead, position this in the bottom corner, and then I'll bring over some of these X's and O's, the hugs and kisses. And once again, you want to place adhesive so that, I'll just do it right here. It's only going to be attached where you want it to attach. So I'm going to bring this over to this side, and I'll go ahead and I think I'll go over the fold line. If I fold this, you can see that's where my fold line is. And then I'll attach adhesive a little bit to what would be the bottom section of, actually the top section of the hug, and then I'll do the same kind of thing on the final X to represent the last kiss, which I'll attach here. The more things that you attach to these, to this border, the more it starts, you really can feel the layering. And I'm going to start in this bottom corner and go ahead and attach the 2. This is where I would have attached the 1, but I'm going to place a candle. And to do that, I'm going to place a sticker. And the reason I'm placing the sticker, and I'm only lightly touching, is if I press down, this is still sticky back here. I need to turn it over and put the mirror image sticker on the back so that I can nullify all this adhesive. So I'm going to, this back one isn't going to show, but its effect is to prevent the candle from sticking the whole card shut. You want this to be able to move freely. So now I need to do the 0, and I'll attach this. Okay, so then for the 2, I'm going to need to turn this over, so I place the adhesive on the back side. And once again, I'll just put a little adhesive on the bottom. I'll try to keep my fingers out of the way. And I may not be getting this all that straight, upside down and quickly like this, but you can see it really does go together pretty quickly. Once you have all the layers decorated, it's time to create what I call sort of the diorama by placing all the 3 together. In order to do that, you're going to put adhesive just on the edges. So I'm going to start with the gold, and I want it to be attached in the corner. I only need to run adhesive just on maybe at the most a 1/2 inch. That's going to align with the bottom and with this one edge. Place it down, and I'm going to then go back and I'm going to put adhesive. This time I want this entire edge to be fastened down. So I'm going to turn it over and place my adhesive on this edge. You need lots of adhesive. So, and then I'm going to align this so that, remember, this is 6 inches and the back is 6 inches, so they should line right up. Lay that down. You might want to let that adhesive set for a minute, but it should work. It should hold long enough for me to show you. Now I'm going to put adhesive on the other edges so that I can attach those, and it's actually surprisingly simple. I'm just going to fold this over and place adhesive on what will be this section. I'm going to fold this one over, and I'm going to place adhesive. I probably should have put my adhesive on the gold first. That would have been smarter, but since this is removable, I'm going to be able to pull this off. What I want to do, actually, I don't even need to pull it off because they're going to stick together anyway. So I just figured out a little handy trick. Go ahead and stick those 2 together now. And then I need to bring these over, and I'm going to bring it up so that it will align with the other edge. So it needs to fasten together like so. I could have even just folded this closed. another light bulb moment. If I just folded this over the top, that would have worked too. And look how it creates the layering or the diorama effect for one of these. All you need to do is repeat that 4 more times, and then you're going to simply glue the back of one to the front of the next one, and that's how you end up with this. Now, in order to create the cover, let me pull the clip off and we'll look at the front cover. What I did was, let's pretend like this is going to be the actual first book, the first diorama in the little book. So I don't have to create a cover. I can use this as my cover, provided that the paper you chose, this is the color you want for the cover. I'm going to attach these various elements, but remember, in order to close it with a ribbon and tie it into a bow, I need this ribbon to be sandwiched between these first few layers. So what I'm going to do is take more of the sheet music, and I'm going to position the sheet music so that it has this black mat. So I'll turn this over and align this so that I have just a little band of black showing on the top and the bottom. Now I'm going to put adhesive on this, and I'm intending to attach this. I attach this somewhat in this position here. However, before I fasten this down, I'm going to use this as the place where I place my first ribbon, and that way this can hide over it. So I'm going to take a ribbon, a strip of ribbon, and a little piece of tape to really hold it in place. I'm going to have to tape it this way because I don't remember how wide this paper is cut. And then I'm going to go ahead and position this right over the top of this element to create the beginning of the decoration for this front cover. Now, if you look back at my original, you can see that in addition, all I did was I added hearts, and I'll pull this up and show you. I'm not going to create the whole thing, but if I take a red die cut heart and I want to stripe it, I just use a deeper shade of red in order to add various stripes to create a pattern that when it's finished gives you some nice texture. And just as a simple thing, once again, you're sort of making your own pattern paper, adding the candle to denote that it's birthday themed, and then I hand wrote happy birthday, and that is going to complete the front. So when you have all of the elements glued fronts to backs, when this one is then, the back of this is glued to the front of the next one, and then when you put the last two together, you're going to want, once again, to sandwich ribbon in the back section. Then you're able, as you flip this around, to create this really cool book. You know, the star style book, it looks pretty complicated, but it's surprisingly simple to make, and boy does it look great on display.